Barbara Hort says something very, very important. We assume the psychic vampire to be one of us, a person with an empathic soul that resonates with other souls and wishes them well. As I said in the beginning, in our introduction, if somebody's nice, you imagine they have a conscience. If you project love and trust onto somebody else, you automatically, without a single iota of proof, imagine that you're getting it in return. We project our goodness onto other people, and that's fine if those people are good or moral. But if you project your goodness and your morality and your virtue and your standards onto a person who's basically a walking graveyard, what do you think the result is going to be? And Albert Bernstein says that we can establish two absolutely non-negotiable facts about the nature of pure evil. We know that an evil person accepts no responsibility whatsoever for their own dysfunctional anti-human actions. This means that, unlike other people, when they act in an unloving manner, they do not acknowledge it or take responsibility for the consequences of their act. Indeed, in their minds, the other person is responsible. If they feel sad or broken, it's their affair. There's no empathic resonance with the suffering of the other person, and no accountability. Indeed, the evil person imagines that it is the other person's own actions that have led to their despair and undoing. Since this is often true to a point, the evil person's retorts and abuse may go unseen. It's not so much that these vampires think they're better than other people, as that they hardly think of other people at all, unless they need something. We found out that there's a big difference between shame and guilt, and a big difference between conscience and superego, between empathy and just the veneer of niceness. And we've also learned something about suffering, the nature of suffering. It's summarized by Arnold Gruen, who says, in our society, it is not those who suffer that are weak, but those who fear suffering. People who have made the most successful societal adjustment actually turn out to be the weak ones. To conceal this fact, the well-adjusted have for millennia been propagating the myth that sensitivity means weakness. They are the ones who perpetuate a distorted view of reality, that is, the ideology of power and domination. He says, the strength that grows out of sorrow, distress, helplessness, illness, and bitter pain has to do with the kind of transcendent experience that brings inner fortitude, which is not contingent upon external power and its constant need or reaffirmation. The suffering involved in discovering one's own self is of an entirely different nature from the suffering that opts for salvation by identifying with something outside the self. Only those who can endure their own suffering are capable of establishing themselves as a separate entity. Robert Johnson says that suffering is the inevitable path that must be trod on the way to consciousness, the inevitable price for the transformation we seek. By no means can we escape it. We who try to evade it never succeed, and we are twice unlucky, for we pay the price anyway, but miss our transformation. There is a terrible and immutable law at work. We only transform